All of you, welcome to this session on the wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita. The specific topic for today is the significance of the conch shells blown in Kurukshetra battle, which corresponds to the inner vibratory battle in meditation. Paramahansa Yogananda Ji explained how the cosmic Om vibration is pervading the entire vibratory creation. He also explained how a devotee can experience the cosmic Om vibration in meditation. In this session, we will study Paramahansa Yogananda Ji's interpretation as given in his book God Talks With Arjuna of the slokas 12 to 19 of the first chapter, wherein the conch shells are mentioned. The interpretation as applicable to a meditating devotee is what we are interested in. We start with a cosmic chant written by Paramahansa Yogananda Ji titled I am Om, omnipresent, I am Om, followed by a brief meditation. After that, we will start the interpretation. Now I request Swami Vasudevananda Ji to lead us.
I am Om, I am Om, I am Om, I am Om, Om, I am Om, Om, I am Om, come to me, oh, come to me, Om, come to me, oh, come to me. I am Om, 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 omnipresence I am Om, all pervading I am Om, all blessed I am Om, come to me, oh, come to me. Om, come to me, oh, come to me. I am Om, 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 I am omnipresence I am Om, all pervading I am all blessed I am Om, come to me, oh, come to me, Om, come to me, oh, come to me. I am Om, I am Om, I am Om, I am Om, I am I am, all blessed I am, presence I am Om, all pervading I am Om, all blessed I am Om. Om, Om, come to me, oh, come to me. Om, Om, come to me, oh, come to me. I am Om, I am Om, I am Om, I am Om. Om, Om, I am Om, Om, I am Om. Omnipresence I am Om, all pervading I am Om, all blessed I am Om. Omnipresence I am Om, all pervading I am Om, all blessed I am. Omnipresence I am Om, all pervading I am Om, all blessed I am Om. सर्वव्यापी मैं हूँ ओम, सब में समाया मैं हूँ ओम, परम पवित्र मैं हूँ ओम। सर्वव्यापी मैं हूँ ओम, सब में समाया मैं हूँ ओम, परम पवित्र मैं हूँ ओम। ओम, ओम, दर्शन दो, दर्शन दो, दर्शन दो। ओम, ओम, दर्शन दो, दर्शन दो, दर्शन दो। मैं हूँ ओम, मैं हूँ ओम, मैं हूँ ओम, मैं हूँ ओम। ओम, ओम, मैं हूँ ओम, ओम, मैं हूँ ओम। ओम, दर्शन दो, दर्शन दो, दर्शन दो। ओम, ओम, दर्शन दो, दर्शन दो, दर्शन दो। मैं हूँ ओम, मैं हूँ ओम, मैं हूँ ओम, मैं हूँ ओम। ओम, ओम, मैं हूँ ओम, ओम, मैं हूँ। सर्वव्यापी मैं हूँ ओम, सब में समाया मैं हूँ ओम, परम पवित्र मैं हूँ ओम। सर्वव्यापी मैं हूँ ओम, सब में समाया मैं हूँ ओम, परम पवित्र मैं हूँ ओम। सर्वव्यापी मैं हूँ ओम, सब में समाया मैं हूँ ओम, परम पवित्र मैं हूँ ओम। सर्वव्यापी मैं हूँ ओम, पम में समाया मैं हूँ ओम, परम पवित्र मैं हूँ ओम। सर्वव्यापी मैं हूँ ओम, सब में समाया मैं हूँ ओम, परम पवित्र मैं हूँ ओम। ओम, ओम, दर्शन दो, दर्शन दो, दर्शन दो। ओम, ओम, दर्शन दो, दर्शन दो, दर्शन दो। मैं हूँ ओम, मैं हूँ ओम, मैं हूँ ओम, मैं हूँ ओम। ओम, ओम, मैं हूँ ओम, ओम, मैं हूँ। सर्वव्यापी मैं हूँ ओम, सब में समाया मैं हूँ ओम, परम पवित्र मैं हूँ ओम। सर्वव्यापी मैं हूँ ओम, सब में समाया मैं हूँ ओम, परम पवित्र मैं हूँ ओम। सर्वव्यापी मैं हूँ ओम, सब में समाया मैं हूँ ओम, परम पवित्र मैं हूँ ओम। सर्वव्यापी मैं हूँ ओम, सब में समाया मैं हूँ ओम, परम पवित्र मैं हूँ ओम। सर्वव्यापी मैं हूँ ओम, सब में समाया मैं हूँ ओम, परम पवित्र मैं हूँ ओम। सर्वव्यापी मैं हूँ ओम, सब में समाया मैं हूँ ओम, परम पवित्र मैं हूँ ओम। ओम, ओम, दर्शन दो, दर्शन दो, दर्शन दो। ओम, ओम, दर्शन दो, दर्शन दो, दर्शन दो। ओम, ओम, दर्शन दो, दर्शन दो, दर्शन दो। मैं हूँ ओम, मैं हूँ ओम, मैं हूँ ओम, मैं हूँ ओम। ओम, मैं हूँ ओम, ओम, मैं हूँ। सर्वव्यापी मैं हूँ ओम, सब में समाया मैं हूँ ओम, परम पवित्र मैं हूँ, सर्वव्यापी मैं हूँ, सब में समाया मैं हूँ, परम पवित्र मैं हूँ, सब में समाया मैं हूँ, परम पवित्र मैं हूँ, सर्वव्यापी मैं हूँ, सब में समाया मैं हूँ, परम पवित्र मैं हूँ, सर्वव्यापी मैं हूँ, सब में समाया मैं हूँ, परम पवित्र मैं हूँ, सर्वव्यापी मैं हूँ, सब में समाया मैं हूँ, परम पवित्र मैं हूँ।
Paramahansa Yogananda Ji wrote, Yogoda Parangurus bequeathed to the world, along with the long lost Kriya Yoga, a new revelation of the Gita, relevant primarily to the science of yoga and to Kriya Yoga in particular. This is the new unique interpretation of Bhagavad Gita by Gurudeva Paramahansa Ji. This is yogic interpretation. That is the uniqueness of this book. Slokas 12 to 19 of first chapter describe the inner psychological battle that goes on in meditation through the vibratory sounds emanating from sense tendencies on the one side and discriminative tendencies on the other. It is a battle in which both physical and astral sounds of the senses pull the consciousness down to body, while the wondrous astral music emanating from discriminative powers and vital activities in the spinal centers, chakras, they pull one's consciousness towards spirit, God. This is the psychological battle that takes place within us in meditation. The layman reading these explanations may wonder, what is this all about? But the conscientious truth seekers, sincere followers of Raja Yoga, as taught by Paramahansa Yogananda Ji in his lessons, Yogoda Satsanga lessons, know that these vibratory sounds can be distinctly heard in meditation. These astral sounds are relevant not only to those devotees who practice Raja Yoga, they are also relevant to all those devotees who try to attain interiorization, that is pratyahara, either through meditation or devotional singing or chanting mantras or prayer, deep contemplation or whatever spiritual pursuit. These astral inner sounds are there for a sincere devotee who tries to go within into that pratyahara state. See, our goal is self-realization, that is perpetual, unfading joy. That is our goal. In fact, this is the goal of all human beings, perpetual, unfading, ever new joy. Understandably, it takes intense effort to reach that noble goal. There are struggles before sitting in meditation, other duties, laziness, etc. And there are struggles after sitting in meditation, thoughts, sounds, etc. The slokas 12 to 19 refer to those sounds which we encounter, which we experience after sitting in meditation. Now let us take up these slokas. I request Swami Vasudevananda Ji to sing slokas 12 and 13.
Tasya sanjanayan harsham Kuru vriddha pitamaha Singhanadam viniddochehi Sankham dadmo pratapavan Tata sankhascha bhairyascha Panavanaka go mukha सहसैव्याभ्यहन्यन्त शशब्दस्तु मूलो भवत तस्य संजनयन् हर्षं कुरु वृद्ध पितामह सिंहनादं विनद्योच्चे शङ्खदद्मौ प्रतापवान् तथा शङ्खाश्च भैर्यश्च पणवानक गोमुखः सहसैव्याभ्यहन्यन्त शशब्दस्तु मूलो भवत.
The plain translation as given by Paramahansa Yogananda Ji reads, Grandsire Bhishma, oldest and most powerful of the Kurus, with the purpose of cheering Duryodhana, blew his conch shell with resounding lion's roar. Then the 13th sloka. Then suddenly, after Bhishma's first note, a great chorus from the conch shells, kettle drums, tabors and cowhand trumpets sounded from the side of the Kurus. The noise was terrific. The plain meaning is easy to understand. Bhishma Pitamaha blew his conch shell to signal the start of the Kurukshetra war, and immediately other Kaurava warriors also blew their conches, horns, drums, trumpets, etc. And the noise was terrific. This is plain meaning, but yogic meaning relevant for those who meditate is this. The previous 10 slokas are attributed to Duryodhana. Duryodhana representing the king material desire, addressing his teacher Dronacharya, the past habit, described the Pandava warriors and Kaurava warriors ready to fight the battle. Dronacharya did not give any response. Then Bhishma, who represents the ego in me, Bhishma, seeing the lack of response from Dronacharya, and in order to cheer Duryodhana, the material desire, from getting discouraged, he starts, his conch shell of restless breath that causes body identification and disrupts the stillness of deep meditation. So the blowing the conch shell by Bhishma is equivalent to the ego blowing the restless breath. Ego is worried that this soul is going away from my clutches towards God. So when he sits in meditation, first thing the ego does is the restless breath, blowing the conch shell, Bhishma blowing the conch shell. Here the ego sends the restless breath. We all experience that. Guruji, Paramahansa Yogananda Ji mentioned that breath is the cord that ties soul to the body. If breath is restless, soul is far, far away from that calmness, because breath is the one which ties. Next, after Bhishma's conch shell Others also blew their own shells and trumpets and drums, meaning after ego blows this restless breath, the senses also begin to send their various distracting vibratory sounds in order to disrupt the devotee's meditation. Ego started, then senses also started. Physiological, the body parts, they also give their vibratory sound to disturb the meditation, like heartbeat, the movement of the diaphragm, blood circulation. All these things are disturbing vibrations for a meditating devotee. First breath and then these physiological things. The whole scene is comparable to shattering a quiet atmosphere with the clamor of drums, horns and cymbals. I mean, that is the meaning of these two slokas. When the devotee starts meditating, ego sends the restless breath and senses start disturbing with their own vibrations. We all face this when we sit in meditation, restless breath, heartbeat, everything, all these physiological disturbances, internal sounds. Our ancient rishis are real spiritual scientists. By experimentation over many centuries, they discovered one fundamental truth, that mind and breath are interrelated. And they also gave us techniques to regulate and still the mind using the breath. They have given the pranayama techniques which uses the breath to still the mind. Because if you want to control the mind, if you want to quieten the mind, directly all the more it goes astray. But we can still the mind by doing something with the breath. These are the techniques given by ancient rishis, pranayama techniques. And Paramahansa Yogananda Ji teaches these techniques like Hangsa, Kriya Yoga. These are pranayama techniques which use breath in order to still the mind, in order to quieten the restlessness of that mind. So, Hangsa technique which we learn in our Yogoda Satsanga lessons is to counter the restless breath. It subsides. Those of us who practice Hangsa realize this truth. And there are wondrous astral sounds inside emanating from chakras, especially when we are meditating. Chakras, they are awakened, they give. But normally we cannot catch those astral sounds. They are so subtle, they are inside. Because again, because the mind is not still, they are disturbed. The mind and senses are disturbed. So, technique like Hangsa, Kriya Yoga, they help us to quieten. Now, I will give an example to understand the importance of quietening our breath and the senses in order to experience the inner wondrous astral music emanating from our spinal centers. When we try to hear Om vibration, before that we practice Hangsa technique to quieten our mind and breath, so that we will be able to hear that Om vibration. Here is an analogy. One farmer worked in his store where dry straw was piled. He worked arranged straw. It took a while for him. He arranged everything. After finishing the work, he came out. Then he found that his wristwatch was lost. While he was working on the straw, wristwatch fell down somewhere. He went in that huge storeroom where hay was stored. He tried to locate, but he couldn't, because very difficult to locate a tiny watch in that big stack of straw. Crestfallen, he came out. That watch was very precious. It's not an ordinary watch. It was a special gift, very valuable, rare watch. He was very disappointed. But when he came out, he saw a dozen boys playing. He approached them and offered a special gift if any of them goes inside and locates the watch. Children, they were very happy to have this opportunity. They went in and searched for an hour or two, but none of them could find the watch. They came out. And this farmer, unhappy, he returned home. When he was about to reach his home, one boy came and approached him. He said, Sir, please give me one opportunity for me. I would like to search. He said, what? 12 of you together tried, couldn't locate. Are you going to now find? No use. Sir, please give me. Then he looked at that boy. He was so sincere and so innocent. What is the harm? He can't do any damage. Okay, try. So he left. He didn't stay there because he didn't have any faith on this boy. This boy went into the storeroom and this man went home. After an hour or so, this boy came with the watch. Said, Sir, here is your watch. The farmer was surprised. What did you do to find it? I didn't do anything, sir. What did you do? How did you find? I didn't do anything, sir. Then how did you find? Then he explained. So I went into the storeroom, sat in one corner, and calmly I was observing. My heartbeat was there. That's all I could hear. After some time, that also quietened. Then my breath was there. It was so restless. That also I quietened. When my breath was quiet, heartbeat was quiet, all physiological sounds quietened. In that absolute calmness, I heard tick, 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 tick. That very faint sound of that wristwatch somewhere in that big stack of straw. Then I walked towards that sound. A few steps, again I stopped, quietened myself. This time I heard little louder sound, tick, tick, tick. I walked again and stood again. Like that I went. With every further attempt, I could get closer and closer to the watch. Eventually I could locate it from its ticking sound. Isn't it a lesson for us? We want to experience the Om vibration right within us. It is there, giving various wonderful astral sound from each chakra. We want to listen, but we cannot because of restlessness, ruffle, everything. Hangsa technique is the one which quietens the system. Kriya interiorises us. These techniques help us, then we will be able to hear that sound, which is there, which is there. We can hear. Now we will go to the next sloka, 14. I request Swami Vasudevananda Ji to sing 14th sloka.
Tata Shvetarya Hayar Yukte महति स्यन्दने स्थितौ माधवाः पाण्डवाश्चैव दिव्यौ शङ्खौ प्रदध्मतुः ततः श्वेतर्हयर्युक्ते महति स्यन्दने स्थितौ माधवाः पाण्डवाश्चैव दिव्यौ शङ्खौ प्रदध्मतुः.
The plain translation given by Paramahamsa Ji reads, then also Madhava and Pandava, seated in their grand chariot with its yoke of white horses, splendidly blew their celestial conch shells. Again, the plain meaning is simple. After the Kauravas blew their conches and other drums, etc., horns, then Bhagavan Krishna and Arjun blew their conches to signify that they are ready for the battle, ready for the challenge. Now, the yogic interpretation. When the ego, Bhishma, disturbs the breath during deep meditation, the soul again tries to revive the intuitive consciousness in the persevering devotee by sounding a series of astral vibrations and illumining the inner gaze with the divine light. Look here, the help we receive from God and Gurus. When the ego disrupts the breath during deep meditation, the soul, God and Guru, they help us to revive the intuitive consciousness in the persevering devotee by sounding a series of astral sounds at the same time and even illumining the inner gaze with divine light. That also happens in meditation. But these are words of assurance by Krishna as explained by Guruji. When a person sits in meditation, restless breath is there. Then bodily, inner sound, inner disturbances like heartbeat, blood circulation, etc., they are all there, trying to pull our consciousness back to body. But at the same time, as we are persevering, that is the key, as we go on persevering, then our attention deepens and the devotee hears the astral music of divine consciousness within. If his concentration is steady, he may also see the light of the spiritual eye, the intuitive all-seeing eye of the soul. Analysis is this. Ocean, there is a vast sheet of still water in ocean, very still, vast sheet. But to get to that still water in the middle of the sea, you have to start from the shore and somehow go through these waves, noisy, disturbing, restless waves. Somehow we have to wade our way through. We have to go through these waves and then only we can reach that calm ocean in the middle. Similarly, when we sit for meditation, the waves or disturbances are there in the beginning. Kauravas blew their conch shells. Ego and senses try to pull our consciousness down, disturbing. But if we persevere, somehow if we persevere means doing techniques like hangsa, then quiet, that quietness comes, we go to the calm sea. Perseverance is the key. We can't get to the calm sea without going through the waves. Similarly, I can't get that stillness right away as soon as I sit. I have to wait through this restlessness. Perseverance is the key. Persevere. There are two things here. Perseverance here means both sitting long enough. If you sit only for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, there may not be that calmness. We have to sit long enough so that the restlessness vanishes and calmness descends. Perseverance also means day after day after day after day, when the pranayama techniques we were taught in Yogoda lessons become so much a part of us, a habit, so easy to effectively practice. So perseverance each day plus over a period. Then we eventually we go through this restlessness and go beyond that. I would like to share with you an analogy to show how important it is to persevere, regularly keep at it, although initially it is not encouraging. One head of an ashram was sitting in an expansive mood one day. Then the disciples wanted to know from their master the various stages he had gone through in his quest for the divine. For this question, he answered like this: God first led me by the hand into the land of action, and there I dwelt for several years. Then God returned and led me to the land of sorrows. There I lived until my heart was purged of every inordinate attachment. First, God led me to the land of action. That means I am involved in action for many, many years. Then God led me to the land of sorrows. There again I was there for a long time until my heart was purged of every inordinate attachment. That is when I found myself in the land of love, whose burning flames consumed whatever was left in me of the lower self. After land of sorrow, then I entered in the land of love, expressing love, experiencing love. There I stayed until whatever is left of my lower self, that is consumed by the fire of love. This brought me to the land of silence, where the mysteries of life and death were bare before my wondering eyes. Then I entered the land of silence, the land of stillness. In stillness within, the truth was so clear. Life and death, the mysteries behind life and death were so clear to me in that land of stillness, where there are no other thoughts and disturbances. I could see that. Then the disciples asked, was that the final stage of your quest? Then the master said, no. One day God said, today I shall take you to the innermost sanctuary of the temple, to the heart of God Himself. And I was led to the land of laughter. Land of laughter. What is this land of laughter? Free from all dualities and delusion. One wakes up from this cosmic dream in ever new joy. that is the ultimate. He wakes up from this cosmic dream and lives in that land of laughter, ever new joy. Here, to get to that stage of union with ever new joy, he had to go through the stages. Land of action, land of sorrows, land of love, land of stillness, and then land of laughter, joy. There are two lessons here for us. One, perseverance is the key. We have to go through step by step to reach our goal. We cannot jump. We have to go through various experiences in life to get that final experience in our divine quest. Saints were not spared, neither you nor me. We also have to go through various stages. One more point. These stages, action, sorrow, love, silence, laughter, they are not watertight compartments in the sense one follows the other. No. These stages one may be going through simultaneously, which most of the case it's happening with us. It is not that we have to be in the land of action for so many years or decades. Then we go to land of sorrow, there we are in sorrow for decades or years. Then land of love. No, they are all simultaneously happening. I am even now in the land of action. At the same time, I am in the land of sorrow. It's going through. And love, stillness of meditation. And once in a while, that glimpse of God's joy, inner ever new joy, it is there. So we go through it simultaneously, all these things. But the key is perseverance. Key is perseverance, because that is what God and Guru are looking for in us. They are ready to help. Madhava, Bhagavan Sri Krishna blew his conch shell to help us, to bring us, to negate the conch shells of Kauravas. Kauravas blew their conch shells to disturb the meditation. Bhagavan Sri Krishna and Arjuna and Pandavas, they blew their conch shells to pull us to that wondrous astral music inside, enchanting, so that our consciousness goes up. So that is happening. We are assured of that if only we are regular, we persevere. Length of meditation and regularity of meditation, both of them are needed. So we will experience that. And the next slokas are very interesting. What we are going to experience by persevering with our meditation as taught by Gurudeva Paramahansa Ji. Now I request Swami Vasudevananda Ji to sing slokas 15 and 16.
पांचजन्यं ऋषिकेशो देवदत्तं धनञ्जयः पौण्ड्रं दद्मो महाशङ्ख भीमकर्मावृकोदरः अनन्तविजयं राजा कुन्तीपुत्रो युधिष्ठिरः नकुलः सहदेवश्च सुघोषमणिपुष्पकौ पाञ्चजन्यं ऋषिकेशो देवदत्तं धनञ्जयः पौण्ड्रं दद्मौ महाशङ्ख भीमकर्मावृकोदरः अनन्तविजयं राजा कुन्तीपुत्रो युधिष्ठिरः नकुलः सहदेवश्च सुघोषमणिपुष्पकौ.
The plain translation given by Gurudev Yogananda ji reads, Hrishikesha blew his Panchajanya, Dhananjaya his Devadatta, and Vrikodara of terrible deeds blew his Conch Poundra. King Yudhishthira, the son of Kunti, blew his Ananta Vijaya. Nakula and Sahadeva blew respectively their Sughosha and Manipushpaka. Here Bhagavan Sri Krishna and the 5 Pandavas blew their conch shells, and the names of their respective conch shells are also given here. In these slokas, a reference is made to the specific vibratory sounds the meditating devotee hears emanating from the astral centers in the spine and medulla. That is important here. It's not just physically Pandavas blowing to encourage Pandava army. Here to encourage us, meditating devotee, astral sounds will come from various chakras, not from senses. The sounds coming from senses and ego are the other side, Kauravas. Here from the chakras they come, because Pandavas are seated there to help us. Now we have to understand Om vibration. Om, Pranava, is the mother of all sounds. The intelligent cosmic energy of Om issues forth from God and is the manifestation of God, is the creator and substance of all matter. Creator and substance of all matter is Om vibration. It is the manifestation of God, Pranava. And all sounds have come from that, because Pranava, Nada Brahma, is Adi Shabda, that is a word. From there everything else have come. To understand that Om is the manifestation of God, we have to understand the concept of Om Tat Sat, Trinity. Sat, Tat, Om. What it is? Let me explain. Sat is the unmanifested God, the Spirit, beyond and above creation. For God to exist, the creation need not exist. The God is the creator of the creation. So He is above the creation. So that Spirit beyond and above the creation is Sat. Sat is that aspect, beyond creation. And the God's intelligence reflected in this creation is Tat, Kutastha, consciousness. Because for this creation to go on, there must be God's intelligence working here. That God's intelligence in this creation, reflected in this creation, is Tat, Kutastha consciousness. And then the physical creation, what we see, creation, this is Om, manifestation of God in creation is Om. Om is the creation. God's intelligence behind this creation is Tat, and Spirit beyond the creation is Sat. Sat, Tat, Om. And in Bible, this is referred to as Holy Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Ghost. Holy Ghost means Om. Son, Kutastha Chaitanya. Then Father means Sat. Sat, Tat, Om. Thus, the holy vibration, that Om vibration, is the link between matter and spirit. We see that starting from here, it's the link, it's the bridge between human consciousness and God consciousness. It's the link between matter and spirit. Meditation on Om is the way to realize the true essence of all creation. Meditation on Om. Now how? See, we meditate to experience that Om vibration within us. When we experience that, when we become one with that vibration, Om vibration, we are one with that. That means we are one with in this creation, the manifestation of God. Deeper level of interiorization, deeper levels of meditation takes us one step further, that we become one with that consciousness, God's consciousness, God's intelligence reflected in this creation. Not only just physical creation we become one with, also with what is behind that, God's intelligence reflected in this creation, that also we become one with that, meaning we attain Kutastha Chaitanya, Kutastha consciousness. Further sadhana takes us to deeper level where we transcend this Kutastha consciousness and go to cosmic consciousness, Sat, God, the Spirit. So first we try to contact the Om vibration in this creation, then we contact God's intelligence behind this creation, then we contact the cosmic consciousness beyond the creation. Om is the link between matter and spirit. It's the bridge. We are fortunate. Those of us who practice Raja Yoga techniques coming from Lahiri Mahashaya, Yukteswarji, Gurudev, and fully explained in detail in Yogoda Satsanga lessons how to meditate on Om. We experience that Om vibration within. That takes us to further deeper meditation takes us to Kutastha Chaitanya, and then one day to cosmic consciousness. So we know, it is not just theory, we know how to meditate. Om technique of meditation is given to us in our lessons where we can practice. No, it's not theory, we know what to do, how to practice. In a general class like this, we cannot discuss the details, but they are available, the techniques in the lessons, whoever is interested. Ask for the lessons and just sit down and practice the way it is given there. After that, the concept of Om Tat Sat. After knowing that meditation on Om is the way to realize the true spirit in this creation and then go beyond creation. Now, we study the significance of the conscious of the 5 Pandavas mentioned in the slokas 15 and 16, which we heard just now. The significance of the 5 conscious. See, the obvious interpretation is for the inspiration of the ordinary man, but the hidden metaphor, the deeper symbology is for the serious practitioner of the yoga science. And we would like to practice that yoga seriously in order to progress spiritually. So this deeper meaning is for us, not just plain meaning. Now Sahadeva, he blew his conch named Mani Pushpaka. One of the meanings of this word Mani Pushpaka in Sanskrit, that which becomes manifest by its sound, that which becomes manifest by its sound. It represents the earth element in Mooladhara chakra, coccygeal center in the spine. The devotee concentrating upon the center, or when this chakra is awakened, hears the Om or cosmic vibration in a peculiar sound like the drone of a honey mad bee. Now, when this chakra is awakened, or when a devotee concentrates on that in deep meditation, he hears the Om vibration in a peculiar sound like the buzz of a bumblebee. It's astral sound we can't produce physically with our mouth. That bumblebee, bhamara, that deep bumblebee sound one hears when that chakra is awakened. That's one part. Hearing the sound is one part, but as he hears that sound, tries to become one with that sound, as we are taught in our meditation technique. Consciousness also changes. Here is the explanation. The devotee then wonders doubtfully whether the sound is a bodily vibration or an astral sound. This state of concentration is therefore called savitarka, sampragnata samadhi, the doubt-ridden state of inner absorption. This center is the abode of the interiorized meditational mind in its very first stage. See, samadhi, the ultimate samadhi is nirvikalpa samadhi we are all looking for, hoping for. But samadhi has various grades, it's also named. Down below, very first stage of interiorized, that samadhi is known as savitarka sampragnata samadhi. That is achieved when this sound is heard and one becomes one with that sound of bumblebee when that Mooladhara chakra is awakened. And what is the state? The state is doubt-ridden state of inner absorption. Here, doubt doesn't mean the normal doubt we experience. This is much different. This doubt is reverential. Reverential doubt means, is it true now that God is manifesting to me in all His glory in this astral town? I mean, it's wonder. The doubt is wonder. Is God came after all this period of silence? Now He has come. You know, it comes with reverence and devotion. That is doubt, not normal doubt we are familiar. That is known as doubt-ridden state of inner absorption, savitarka. Tarka means logic, that is doubt. Savitarka, sampragnata samadhi. We enter that very first stage of samadhi. There are levels. So when that chakra is awakened, Sahadeva blew his conch, Manipushpaka, that means that chakra is emanating that astral sound which closely remembers to sound which we know, that of bumblebee. So it is there, chakra is there, it is there all the time, it's a question whether we hear or not. Next, Nakula. Nakula's conch is known as Sugosha, meaning that which sounds clearly and sweetly. Sughosha, that which sounds clearly and sweetly. It represents the water element manifested in the sacral center, that is Swadhisthana chakra, Swadhisthana. The devotee concentrating upon the center, or when that center is awakened, is lifted beyond doubting state of mind to a surer, more discriminating state, and he listens to a higher astral sound which is similar to the beautiful tones of a flute. Here two things are happening. One, when Swadhisthana chakra is awakened, when one is concentrating there, he hears the sound of a flute, beautiful tones of a flute, very soothing, not just ordinary flute, very soothing flute. At the same time, earlier the doubt-ridden state of inner absorption is dissolved. He comes to a more surer, more discriminating state. The doubting ceases and his intellect begins to fathom the nature of this sound. Earlier, whether this sound is from God, God is manifesting to me now after all this silence, that is doubt. Now, his intellect begins to fathom the nature of the sound, because his consciousness is uplifted, he is able to understand that, leaving the doubt behind. This state is called savichara, sampragnita samadhi, one step above. Savichara, vichara, that intellect, savichara, sampragnita samadhi, or the intellectual, reason guided state of inner absorption. The intellectual, reason guided state of inner absorption. You see the progression? As we meditate with perseverance, day after day, for longer durations, then we experience these things. First the doubt-ridden state, reverentially, and then a surer, reason-guided state of inner absorption. That is the thing. It's not just listening. It is becoming one with the sound. More importantly, the consciousness also gets uplifted, it goes up. Now, reason-guided state of inner absorption, that is the key to understand. It's not just listening to a sound. Consciousness goes up. Next, Arjuna. His conch is known as Devadatta. One of the meanings is that which gives joy. Devadatta, that which gives joy. It represents the fire element in the lumbar center, meaning Manipura chakra. The devotee concentrating upon this center hears an astral sound like that of, like a harp or veena, the stringed instrument veena we are familiar, veena, that sound is there. Again, it's not just sound, it's not just hearing, it's becoming one with the sound. And further, when he hears that sound, the previous doubt is dissolved, and then intellectual analysis, that is gone. One step above, what is that? Owing to the dissolution of the doubting mental state and of the discriminating intellectual state, the devotee now attains the state of perceptive self-realization, in which the clear perception of the sound and its true nature produces a joy permeated feeling of the inner absorption, or sananda sabpragnita samadhi. Look at the progression. Doubt is gone, intellectual analysis is gone. Now with that hearing of sound of veena, astral sound resembling veena, comes a clear perception, perceptive self-realization. It's now feeling, not doubt, not intellectual analysis, it's actually feeling, experiencing self-realization, which is joy permeated feeling of inner absorption. Inner absorption is there, common. Now joy permeated inner absorption. That is from the conch blown by Arjuna in Manipura chakra. Manipura chakra is Arjuna's seat. There he emanates that sound of, it's not just the sound, along with the sound comes the upliftment of consciousness to that level of joy permeated feeling of the of inner absorption in Sanskrit is known as sananda. Savitarka, then savichara, now sananda, ananda, sampragnata samadhi. Then Bhima, his conch is known as poundra. Poundra means that which disintegrates the lower states. Poundra, it represents the air or life force element in Anahata Chakra, that is dorsal center. The devotee concentrating on the center hears the Om, symbol of God, as a deep, long drawn out astral bell. Astral bell, bell sound. We can't mimic with mouth. That astral sound one comes. Along with that sound, poundra, the lower states are disintegrated. Doubt is gone, intellectual analysis is gone, and even feeling is gone. Now, intuitive inner bliss absorption, the intuitive inner bliss, the mental, intellectual and perceptive states having all been dissolved, the devotee arrives at an intuitive inner bliss absorption that is mixed with ego consciousness, not as body consciousness, but as a pure sense of individualized being, or I am. This state is known as asmita sabpragnata samadhi. Asmita. Sasmita, I am sorry. Sasmita. Sasmita level. Next is Yudhishthira. Yudhishthira's conch is known as Ananta Vijaya. Ananta Vijaya, that which conquers infinity. Ananta Vijaya. It represents the ether element in the cervical center, the Vishuddha Chakra. The devotee concentrating at the center hears the eternity controlling, infinity spreading cosmic sound of the all pervasive etheric vibration of Om, whose sound is like a thunder or the roar of a distant mighty ocean. One step above, and it gives a deeper state of pure intuitive perception of the limitless bliss. This pure intuitive perception of limitless bliss, this is known as asampragnata samadhi. Next. Like that, each chakra gives a characteristic astral sound. We can only describe with words which we know, like bee sound, flute sound. These are words, but actually it's an experience. With the experiencing the sound also comes upliftment of consciousness, doubt, logic, inference, of that is intellectual, then comes feeling, then comes intuitive inner bliss, next pure intuitive perception of limitless bliss, one by one like that. We stop here today, and about other one Panchajanya which Bhagavan Krishna blew, we will discuss next time, and the overall meaning of all these conch shells also we will discuss more in detail in the next session, which is going to be 2 weeks from now, that is on 3rd June. Now we close with a few moments of silence. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.